Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I am Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
I think we would both say Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best games, not maybe best, but favorite games of both of ours.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Easy. So I think we've both been waiting for the last 5 years for what was going to come next for Horizon. Just getting a little teased. I think we're both really excited. So I have played through all of Horizon Forbidden West. I'm working on getting the platinum. I've got a few trophies left.
How many hours did you play? I'm just curious. Do you know what your final hour time was?
I'm still going. I think main story with a little bit of side quests here and there was maybe 35.
Okay.
But that was I got
No, that's fine. I didn't finish it. I put 40 into it.
And I think Doug's right around the 60% mark at 40 hours. So Doug did a lot of the side quests, didn't finish it. I finished it going back. I'm now around probably 50 hours going back through trying to get all the side quests and everything like that. But this game is amazing.
It is amazing.
It's better than I could have imagined in like every possible way. Because I think with Horizon, it was so unique and it did so many interesting things. It told a really interesting story that I wasn't expecting. The gameplay was super tight. That it's one of those things where when you look at the sequel, my thought was going to be they're just going to do it again. And I'm going to have that samey feeling. And there's none of that here for me.
Yeah, I was really worried with the, I think when they were kind of advertising this thing, is that, so Horizon Zero Dawn had an A plot. Me and Brad we always talk about an A plot and a B plot. A plot was all this tribal stuff, not that interesting. B plot was all this like cool what the world of Horizon Zero Dawn is. So, but that story, the cool what the world of Horizon Zero Dawn kind of wrapped up. So going into this game, I was like, oh crap, it's going to be just the tribal stuff. But what they did was something was very, very clever, I think, was that instead of just having A plot and B plot, they mixed them together really, really well.
Yes.
Which made, I don't think, and I didn't finish the game, I don't think there's anything as interesting maybe as that B plot from Horizon Zero Dawn, but just I think the main plot was just so much stronger in this game. And it was like my biggest worry was like, okay, well, I don't know if how interested am I in tribal politics stuff? They have a little bit of that. They do have a lot of that, actually, I'd say. But the way they mix in some of the old world stuff into the new world, I think was like really clever and smart. And I think that's ultimately why I was just like this. That's why I like this a lot better. I think just the immediate story was just so much more interesting.
Yeah. And I think they kind of learned the lesson that is the story that people are interested in, is what happened to the old world. How did the new world evolve? And because you're now going west, you're going out of the area that you knew from Zero Dawn. They're able to explore it a little bit more and people know a little bit more. And I think they slowly, as you go through the game, by the end, that tribal stuff is almost gone. It slowly does like filter out, and it does start a little weak. It starts more focused on the tribal stuff. You're trying to like set up an embassy or something for the one king. It starts with some of that.
About that.
Yeah, it starts with like this weird like political stuff between the tribes, and by the end of it, that kind of peters out, and you're just back in on the what happened 1,000 years ago and how that's influencing the events that are being told right now. And I think part of the strength here, like you said, is that it moves that up from being this background mystery. And I think Zero Dawn had to do that because that was kind of the fun of Zero Dawn, was going, oh shit, this is Colorado. Like this is our world 1,000 years. And here's like the landmarks from it. And here's this. And part of the fun of Zero Dawn was discovering that. And that was my fear as well, that because there wasn't that discovery of what happened to create this world, it wouldn't be as engaging. And then here, it's not, okay, well, now you know it, so let's really dig in deep to what really happened, how things were effective. Let's get into some of the nitty gritty of like, how did this world come to be? How did Aloy get here? We know she's a clone. How does that play into? Where does all this come from? How does all that get put here into where we are now for her? And it's really, really goes through all of that in a great way that I think slowly makes you kind of realize, okay, we can have this cool world without that mystery element to it.
Yeah, and I think what they did is they made some really, really smart story decisions that on first pass they seem kind of stupid. They use this, I'm going to say this plot trick I'm going to call Aloy's bag of focuses. So the whole, one of the big things with Horizon Zero Dawn is that the reason those plots are so separated is because Aloy is the only person who knows about this stuff. Aloy and maybe two other characters know how this world really functions. But they do this fun thing called literally it's just a one-off line where Aloy is like, I have a bag of focuses, don't worry about it. But the cool thing is that she introduces more of those tribal characters to the truth of what's going on. And I think that I thought was the kind of fun is that you realize Aloy's not really special. Aloy's a clone, but she's not like, that's it. That's like her special ability. But her knowledge base can be shared with anybody, really. Yeah. It's not like, the secrets of the whatever. It's like, well, actually anybody can really learn that. And I think that's the big way they use to pull it up. Pull the B plot and the A plot was like her teaching people about the old, and they play with that in so many fun, unique ways, I think, with the plot.
Yeah.
I think it's just really, yeah.
And then even going from, I think, kind of from the point where you are a little bit, some of the characters you encounter as you go through the game have other sets of knowledge, because hers isn't the only focus that had ever existed clearly now. Like in the first game, that is kind of her special thing, is she has this and nobody else does. As you travel to this new area and these new different parts of this area, there are groups that have had these things going on and have learned things from this for years and years. And there's characters who've had just as much experiences and different experiences and seen different pieces of information that really influence how they see what happened in the old world. And how that connects here. So you've got Aloy's perspective, which was completely based around Project Zero Dawn and Elizabeth Sobek.
Oh,
and then you have these other people who weren't in the same area where that all was happening, and they were coming from a different, out west, different parts, and they're having a completely different retelling of what's happening than she is. And the interaction between Aloy and some of those gets really, really interesting, because a lot of what makes Horizon cool is the knowledge base that she has. So when you challenge that with some other people, it gets really, really interesting with what they do with some of that later on in the game.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I think it just made that as a result of all of that, it just made that mainline plot interesting. I didn't know that. See, I know I've been distracted by Elden Ring, but like I played another like maybe half hour before we started this to kind of freshen up a bit, and I was like, this game's pretty fucking good.
It's one of those games where if I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. If I tried to play something else, I want to play more Horizon. I don't platinum many games. Like I don't try and do that, but I was sitting here, I beat it maybe 4 or 5 days ago, and I was like, okay, well, what am I going to play next? Like, I'll try that. I turn it on, and I'm just like, I'm just going to go play more Horizon, because I think that's the other thing that this nails too, is the gameplay. Like the gameplay is a clear step up. And the first one had great gameplay too, but it's just everything feels super tight. All of the movements are great. It's a game of refinement, I think, more than introducing new things. I don't think there's much new here, but it's very, very refined from what it was in Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I feel like I should have done this beforehand, but I know during our spoiler cast during Horizon Zero Dawn, I listened to it kind of recently to sort of freshen up. It's not a great thing to freshen up with our spoiler cast, but it was interesting at the very least. But when the thing at the end is like, here's what I want from Horizon Zero Dawn 2. And it's like, oh, they just did all that. Like all the things I wanted, they did. And I understand what you're saying. It's an evolutionary thing for sure. But I feel, it feels more like kind of like an Uncharted 2 almost. Like it's so much more improved. I wouldn't say it's like I understand what you're kind of saying. It's like an evolutionary sequel, but everything it just like light years better, in my opinion, than the first game. I think the one thing I really, really, really enjoyed, probably more than anything, is that for the robots, they like leaned into dinosaurs a lot harder on this one. In the previous one, there's like the T-Rex. I think that's the only dinosaur. Everything else is like inspired by like present day fauna, and this one is just like, why don't we just do some crazy shit? Which, I mean, I guess a spoiler for the first boss, and they showed in the thing, is a giant cobra. There's no giant cobra. There's like no real giant cobra, and it was awesome. And the mechanics they have with the new ones, which are a little bit more complicated, like you have to tear. They're definitely get dug more into like, okay, you really got to tear off this piece first. You really got to tear off this piece second, and then I really, really enjoyed that. I think that's probably my favorite change. While like you're saying, there's like a lot of little minor stuff. I just think like leaning real hard into dinosaur stuff and like just crazier creatures. I think they decided to play like a little bit less safe, which I think was like much more interesting as a result.
Yeah, everything, and again, I wanted to go back to it, I just never ended up having time. But in my mind, when I think of Zero Dawn, I think a lot of like 4-legged, like big cat type creatures. Like that's what I picture. In my mind, that is the machines of Horizon Zero Dawn. And there's so much more variety. you run into, there's like a kangaroo one, like
Yeah, I was actually, that's the one in the back of my, I was thinking about that one. Yeah, yeah.
like it's they're just so weird, they're so unique, and they're all fun. They all have their weird little intricacies where you know the best way to approach them after you've fought them 3 or 4 times. You go, okay, like this is one that maybe I need to melee a little bit more. This is one that I really, like you're saying, I really do need to go for those tear off points, and I really do need to hit it with this. There's a couple eventually that you get to where it's like, you're just, if you're not going to use your elemental stuff, you're just completely fucked. Like you have to use your elemental stuff, which doesn't play in quite as much as I would like, but there are a few moments here and there where it's like, oh, I haven't been doing this, and oh, I did it, and now this is really easy.
Yeah, it was interesting because I played on hard, and I know, and I swapped it to normal because I'm getting my hard game out of Elden Ring. I'm getting what I need from Elden Ring. I don't need another hard game to play. But I think the one thing I'm curious how you felt about it playing on normal, because on hard you really had to lean into the weaknesses to the point where like if you weren't using the weaknesses, you were just screwed. And to me, like I didn't like it because what ended up happening is that there's now a variety. There's like 9 different weaknesses that a enemy can have, and then you only have so many slots of what you can hold. You can have in your weapon wheel, and so you're always like you always don't have everything, which is it's an interesting way of doing it, to making sure that you're always kind of a little bit on your heels. But I found that almost making things too complicated. Like, does it really matter that I shot it with an acid thing or a fire thing if they kind of have the exact same effect on it?
Yeah.
So I was just curious how you kind of felt. I felt it made the combat like a little, made too RPG to the point where it's like, I just want the immediacy to be there. I don't want to have to sit there and figure out all this.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I made it way far in the game where I was just using like the base default bow.
Yeah, sure.
Like way further than I probably should have, because I was just like, this is just fun. Like I just like shooting my bow and arrow. But I do think there are a couple points in particular where it came up where I felt like I had no choice but to.
Yeah.
But for the majority of the game, like I really just kind of played with what was the new weapon I got. Ooh, this is kind of fun. Okay, I'll toss that in with my normal bow, and I just kind of played around with things, which I think to me was more fun than going, okay, I really have to strategize through this. I understand the points of both, but there's some really fun parts in the really fun parts as you go through the game where like every quest level is like, oh yeah, you should be like a level 28 for this. I'm like, okay, I'm right around to level 28. There's a couple really fun parts. One in particular where it's like they set up the quest as being like, oh man, like this thing is just terrorizing everybody. Like you gotta go stop this thing. And it's like quest level 28. So I'm like, okay, I'm like 27. I'm like, let's go, let's do this. And I get into the quest and it's a main story quest at 28 or 20, somewhere in the 20s, and I'm right around there. And you get there, there's a big ass machine that's level 45.
Oh, that's fun. It's like, that's cool.
And like literally, you get there, and it's like, okay, I'll just scan it. Like, oh shit, did I go the wrong way? And they're like, nope, this is what you need to do.
Oh, that's fun.
It has some fun like environmental stuff that like makes it manageable, but you're like, okay, like I need to use my elemental stuff here because
gotcha.
This thing is so much higher than me, and we're going to put you in that situation where, okay, Aloy really does need to be this very superior warrior to deal with this problem that nobody else can, and that's kind of a fun take on it.
I did like one of the things you did mention that I think that I think they did a lot better on this one was the environmental. It was playing with your environment a lot more.
Yeah.
They have like a lot more environmental hazards like just laying around for you to use. Yeah. And I found those like they're really fun to use. Like they do huge damage, and I thought those were really good. I really did like the combat. I think the only time I wasn't feeling it, besides the RPG stuff, is sometimes an enemy would just like their move was to throw themselves at you, and then and then it just feel like this immediate like confusion of like, okay, so you have this giant thing fly at you, and then like you're trying to aim and figure out like where you even are on the planet before you can like get back. And I felt like a little too many got there, so it got like a little hectic sometimes. But it still felt great. I really liked the variety and all that. But that was just kind of like my minor quibbles. Although I think a lot of my thing was because I was playing on hard, which I was enjoying. But again, Elden Ring is hard enough that I don't need to mess around with stuff.
Smash your head into 2 walls at once.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One of the other things I think that's interesting about this is, and these are again not huge stories spoilers, but one of the cool things in this is that you establish a base fairly early on and have like a kind of a base of operation for Aloy, and a lot of the progression of this game goes into the Mass Effect 2 realm of amazingness, which is we're gonna collect some people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like, okay, it's not even intentional, and I like that it veers away from Mass Effect 2, where it's like, you need to go get your guys, and when you get your guys, you're good.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you need to go get some stuff, and along the way you meet some friends, and all because you're
Yes.
going, essentially, once you get the base, it kind of opens up the rest of the world and says, okay, here's, you need these 3 things, they're in 3 very distinct parts of the map, go get them. And as you kind of play around in these areas, you run into people from different tribes, from different groups, and then they like understand this huge task that Aloy is undertaking, and how what she's doing is really going to have an impact on every single aspect of life in this world. So they're kind of like, okay, well, I get it, let me come tag along with you. And it really creates kind of this cool base area like you would get on the Normandy in Mass Effect, where you can kind of go in and talk to these people, and you can talk to them about what's going on, and they're there through the whole game, so you can kind of keep checking in and going, okay, well, what's going on? You see them interacting, so as you get different people, okay, this person's from this area, this person's from this area, they're having conversations about what's going on in their world. And it's a cool progression strategy that I think they do in a way. Mass Effect 2 does it really well, but I think takes that and goes in a much more natural route, where it's, let's not just have you collect people, but let's have you do things that intrinsically motivate those characters to come back with you.
I think the thing that's kind of exactly. I think one of the interesting things kind of with the Mass Effect one, in Mass Effect you're taking a more active role, in like your role is to go get those characters. In this one, and I think this will kind of tumble more into Aloy as a character in this one, is that she like begrudgingly accepts help.
Yes.
That these are characters who are kind of like tagging along because they're like, we're gonna tag along with you. It's like, if you think you're the only person who can save the world, then like we're actually kind of screwed, because you're gonna need more than just you to do this. I thought that was kind of fun. It's like, sorry.
And that plays really well into, like you were saying before, the difference between 1 and 2. I think you see in Aloy's character a lot. In 1, it was Aloy, her focus, her task, her mission. And this, it's very much like, again, like you said, everybody can get this knowledge.
Yeah.
She just happens to have the face for an access code. Like, she has facial recognition.
Yes.
That's all she gets, is that she can walk up the door and goes, oh, hey, Elizabeth. And that's her power. Like, so as you're getting these people again, it's interesting because, like you're saying, they begrudgingly. A lot of it is like, I'm coming with you. She's like, no, you're not. What the? No, I'm fine. I got this. And they're like, shut the fuck up. I'm coming with you. Like, you're ridiculous. Like, you're going that way. There is bad stuff that way. You're gonna just die and ruin this for everybody if you go that way on your own.
And it's kind of like, I think the issue I had with not me personally. I think that I just felt like Horizon Zero Dawn, Aloy as a character was kind of like, they gave it made sense that she was a loner. Yeah. And that she kind of acted in a way where she always kind of like looked down on the other people because she had so much knowledge. And then this game is her learning that maybe that's not the best way to go about things. Yeah. I thought that was really cool for her character, where it makes sense where she's very standoffish. I think they explained it much better of why she's so standoffish. Yep. And then she is a character, and you are also learning along with her that, she's not the chosen one necessarily. She does need help. I thought that was just very cool, because again, Horizon Zero Dawn 1 was like, she's Luke Skywalker or whatever, just like the one hero to save the day. And it's just like, in this one, it's like, I think she's learning, as far as I got, that she's not, she's a big part of it, but she can't do this by herself, and she's going to have to learn the hard way that she needs to. And it's funny. There's a character you meet in the beginning named Varl, who apparently was in the first game. Again, didn't remember anything.
I had that same thought of like, I think I recognize your face, but I don't really remember.
Yeah, and he's like chasing her, and it's like, they make it very clear that she's always like kind of like, oh, like, doesn't want him along, and she's like, no, I'm gonna help you whether you want it or not. And I thought that was just made Aloy just a much more interesting character, because it felt like she wasn't always right.
I think that plays into the beginning a lot. Where you start at is basically a little bit after the events of Zero Dawn, and all of the characters in the kind of the area section that's connected to the first game keep referring to as, the savior, the savior, the savior, the savior.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
So you go from Horizon Zero Dawn, you start out as Aloy, as this outcast that nobody wants any part of, because nobody knows where she came from. She doesn't have a family. Like, you're an outcast. By the end of Zero Dawn, she's now savior to this entire group of people. You start this game with her in that mindset, and she kind of rebels against that. She's like, I'm not a savior. Like, you people just don't get what's going on. Like, you don't understand what's going on. And so she's still kind of in that outcast mode of like, I don't need your help, but people are seeing her now as a part of like this world, and it's just really interesting the situation that they put her in and how she goes from outcast to savior to having this group of friends that she really needs and relies on to get the job done.
I feel like that A plot fixing was like just like they did so many smart, interesting things. And of course, we're staying away from a lot of spoiler stuff. It's like a lot of spoiler stuff too was like really interesting wrinkles. There's definitely some wrinkles in the story. I was like, not, I wouldn't say jaw dropping, but definitely like kind of like put me back on my heels. Like, oh, I was not expecting that to happen, but that totally makes sense for this world, and that totally makes sense for what's going on. And yeah, like we haven't talked about Silence and all, but it's very funny. There's just another character who's just smarter than her.
Yeah.
Who's like who knows more than she does and is constantly taunting her about it. It's very fun. It's a good character.
Yeah. And again, I think if you get into spoilers, you do see a lot of that come up, and I think you see that evolve throughout the game. And just there are a lot of moments where you're like, you could have kept this really close to the original, but you took some chances, I think, in story and going like, we're gonna go big. We're going to go big. We're going to really lean into some things, and leaning into those things, I think, really helps set it apart, because it makes it feel like, okay, they took a chance kind of in some of these story beats, and when they pay off, they really pay off well. And I think they really do a good job of just further enhancing the world, because you're seeing, again, different perspectives from the Zero Dawn program that you see in the first game.
It's really funny, something we haven't talked about. It's like, I'm surprised we spent so much time talking about the story. I didn't realize how interesting and smart the story was until we started talking about it more. I'm not sure if the plot itself is smart, but you can just feel the writers making really smart decisions, which I just like that throughout. It's like, you just feel the love in this game and like the smart decisions, whether it's gameplay decisions, like, oh, I see why this checkpoint is here, or why this weapon is here and introduced here. Actually, one thing we haven't really talked about at all, I think, is just the I'm not gonna say the graphics, because it's definitely moving that direction, though. Is just the world itself feels like the most lived in world I've played. Period. I don't know. It's incredible. It's that game, besides being just gorgeous to look at, probably it's weird, like one of the best looking games period is an open world game. It looks as good as any linear game. But on top of that, the world you get to explore is beautiful looking. It's interesting. It's not just forests, but the forests look really cool. They always seem to make they always seem to do a really good job of like, okay, here's like a familiar forest, and here's something we're gonna plant in this thing, whether it's a cool looking village that's using some repurposed stuff that's really cool looking, or they put in a big destroyed whatever. I just exploring this world is just absolutely incredible. I just loved coming around like a new corner, and it's like, what is that?
And it's giant. It's giant. It's weirdly giant, because you pull out on the map, you're like, oh, this doesn't look too big, but as you go, you're like, oh man, like this is huge. And just it doesn't have that weird, like, I think some open world games get into like, oh, this is the snowy part and the beachy part and this, and everything blends. So like as you're going from maybe a beached area, you're slowly seeing some of the trees change as you make your way further inland, and you're seeing like different things happen as you go, and up a mountain you see different things, and just the distance you can see when you get up on there, and just the way things look is just incredible when you climb some of those mountains and you're just looking out. It's insane what this game looks like, and character models, everything, it's so good. It's so incredible. Like everything about this game is A+.
Yeah, the animations are like literally like jaw dropping sometimes. There is some stuff that like the animation looked as good as any CG movie. I think the animation, this is gonna sound really stupid, the animation looks too good in some scenes, because then you're actually looking at the acting of people. And I'm not gonna bring up this because we talked about this on Messenger a bit, but you can tell when somebody's not a great actor, and you can tell when somebody's a very good actor. And it's not because their model looks weird. It's just like, well, they're just you're just seeing the person act. Yeah, exactly. And I was just like, if the animation is that detailed that I'm not having an uncanny valley effect, it's like I'm just seeing good actors and bad actors. Well, not bad actors, but just not as good actors. But yeah, some of the animations of those scenes, there was facial expressions I was seeing characters make that I just haven't seen made in a video game before. Just like really subtle, sort of like eye rolls or like a slight smirk, like a very slight
Yeah.
smirk. There was one where Aloy is clearly offended. She meets this group of characters who are like, who are you, woman? And she, like, you can tell she's offended. She's like, okay, yeah, moving on. And I just thought, like, the animation they had done that, I was like, wow, this just looks like a very natural conversation. I think that made the world feel so much more alive than I think other, especially like, I mean, Skyrim's probably not a good example. Probably think of more, even Mass Effect. I'm trying to think of like a more. What's a modern example that has bad animation? Elden Ring. It's not. It feels like there's people actually like living here, and their costumes and everything just look just impeccable. Yeah. It's just a cool world to explore. It's fun. I was really excited when sometimes I don't know if you did this, but if there's a place I'd already been, instead of going the path that I'd seen before, it's like, actually, I can just take a longer way and kind of go through a new area I haven't seen before. It's like, okay, let's just kind of go the long way around and
go on a Sunday afternoon robot ride.
Yeah. It's yes, exactly. It's like there's points when I was picking to take a new long route instead of just fast traveling because the world was just so interesting to look at. How'd you feel about all the stuff you could do? How'd you feel about that overall?
Again, I more or less like I would like just mainline story for like 5 hours, do a thing or two here, mainline story for 5. So I wasn't too distracted by it just because I kind of willfully ignored it.
Sure.
Just because that's how I prefer to play games. Like I'm here to, I don't, in my mind, if this major issue is going on, I don't really need to go get your cat new food or whatever. But I think now going back and like just spending some time in side quests and things like that, it very much feels like there's some open world filler in here.
Sure.
Yeah. Like I was just trying to do, I don't remember what they were called. Something contracts, supply contracts.
Oh God. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just busy work. It's like, here's a busy work. Ooh, you did that busy work. Here's a busy work. And
yeah,
I think one of the things that I loved about Zero Dawn was the side quests felt intentional and everything you were doing felt intentional. Mm-hmm. This loses a little bit of that, but I think what's really cool is they made a lot of the main junk more meaningful. Like tallnecks in this are insane.
Oh, sure.
Tallnecks
like when you're doing
when you do a tallneck in the first game, it's like, oh, here's one, just find the big tree and climb up it and then jump over. Whereas this, it's like there's one where I don't even know if we're really spoiling a tallneck, but like there's one that's like stuck and then you realize that scavengers found the parts, so you have to go reboot the tallneck and you have to put its parts back together, and then now it's alive and it has this really beautiful and amazing like awakening scene, and then you have to go, okay, and now I gotta jump on it and do my whole thing with it. So even the side quests I felt like had more weight to them. I think those things got better, but I feel like at the same time we added a whole bunch of checklist stuff. So it's kind of a hit or miss for me. I think if you left off some of the busy work, good, but you also improved, I think, the good stuff that was already there.
Yeah, I think because it's funny because I think the way they even show like in your objectives that they actually have like side quest and then side quest. There's like five different errands. Yeah, there's like 4 different tiers of there's main quest, side quest, errand, and then contract. And I think there may be like another lower
and then
tier.
Like every collectible thing has like they're tied in. Oh, so you've got like your tallneck quest, your rebel camp quest, your whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that. Yeah. Oh, you're right. Oh, God,
if you go to that quest menu, it's like a scroll of like probably 20 different things.
But I felt like the side quests, the things that are labeled side quests, were strong enough on their own, and there was enough of them that you didn't need all that extra busy work. You could have just had main quest and then side quest the game, and that would have been honestly just fine. I think sometimes one of the reasons I kind of, besides Elden Ring coming out, I got a little burned out on it because there was just so much to do. And really, did it need all those extra? I mean, some of the side stuff like is kind of fun and interesting, but again, it does feel like filler. It'd be really nice if they just kind of cut down. It's like, hey, you know, our side missions were super strong this game, our main and side missions. What if we just made more strong side missions instead of whatever weirdo stuff? Yeah.
And well, what's interesting is now working my way towards that platinum trophy. You can almost tell that they knew some of it was filler, because like it's like, do all of the side quests in the Dawn, do all of the side quests in this area, do all the side, and then it's like complete 3 rebel camps.
Oh, really? That's funny. That's funny. I didn't realize that.
I think there's one that's literally like, because I went through and before I was really paying attention to trophies, I was like, okay, well, I'm assuming I got to get everything. I'll get my trophy. So I went and got all of the one of the early collectibles are like the signal lenses. So I was like, oh, I'll go grab all of those, and I got all of them. I was like, oh, my trophy didn't pop up. That's weird. I was like, oh, there's no trophy for actually getting all of these. Like all the collectibles, it's just like get 1 signal lens, get
that's
one.
Funny. That's
so
smart. Like,
which again, from somebody who's like, okay, like I want to get the platinum. I got the platinum in the other one. I don't normally, but I love this game. I'm gonna try it. Just why not? It's something fun to do. I appreciate that, but at the same time, it's almost like admitting, like, yeah, we know you don't really want to do all this stuff, so we're not gonna really force it in here.
I'm really curious. Like, I'd love to maybe ask like a game developer, like, what's the benefit of having 20 bandit camps instead of having like 3 real good ones?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know if there's just something like additional value for the player or something like that. But it's like, I mean, I'd rather, instead of 10 of these things, give me like 2 really good ones, and then like I do the 2 and I'm done. I'm out.
But I think that's the difference between people's take on video games. Like I am perfectly fine with a really strong 6-hour video game that costs $60. Whatever, I'm in. Somebody else can play that 6-hour, $60 video game and go, I only got 6 hours, but I can get 400 out of Assassin's Creed. And I think there's that value proposition of trying to balance, like, okay, we need the people like Brad who really just want to be here for the 10 to 20 hours, get a good story, have some fun. And the people who are like, no, this is my time sink for the next 2 months. And I think that's probably something to do with finding that balance now. Again, I don't design games.
I think that makes sense, because you were able to play through it, like play 100%, like not 100, like play 100% of the main quest in 30-ish hours, and I'm like stuck at 50-60% at like 40 hours. So I mean, maybe that is the idea. Maybe that's just not for us, sort of thing. That's
always the way I take all of that. That's how I take side quests in games. Is that's there for somebody else, not for me. I would rather play 3 8-hour games in 24 hours than one 24-hour game. I like the thought of like, okay, I made it through this, I accomplished this. Like, I don't find I did all the bandit camps in Horizon to feel like that big of accomplishment for me personally.
Yeah, because I was really enjoying doing all the side quests, and then I just started getting too many side quests. Like, this is overwhelming, and now I'm just like, all right, time to do main quest and just let my side quest build up. But no, anyway, I don't want to end there. I think it's a really fun game. I was just curious because it is a humongous game,
and
if you
Horizon,
want it to be.
Yeah, and Horizon Zero Dawn didn't have that. Again, I think that's where this just takes everything and goes in a direction that I think is good. I think it's good to be bigger, and I think it's good to be differentiated enough where, okay, you can have your 20 to 30 hour story experience, and you can have your, oh my god, all the shit on the map experience. So you know, you've got all this stuff. Again, I think, just to wrap it up, just everything is a huge step up. It's taking one of my favorite games and doing everything not only a little bit better, but a lot better. Yeah. Which is one of those things I think is hard to do. It's hard to take somebody's favorite thing and go, okay, you did my favorite thing but better, but you did my favorite thing and like made it wholly a new and enjoyable experience in a way that I didn't think it would be able to be. And I think that is a ridiculous accomplishment that this game was able to pull off.
It definitely feels like everything you wanted from Horizon Zero Dawn 2, it did.
Yeah, it did.
It's like a perfect. It is like, I think it's like just probably one of the best sequels I've ever played for sure. It's awesome. I think it's almost like the Uncharted 2, but you know, Horizon Zero Dawn 1 was already really good.
Yeah, it's in my mind there are a lot of parallels between this and Mass Effect 2.
Sure.
And I feel like we could get more into that in a spoiler cast, but there are so many parallels between this where in my mind I'm just thinking like, man, I'm going to love me some Horizon 3, but I already know this is the best one in the series.
That's funny. That's great.
Anyway, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening, and we will see you later.
Bye.